Hello, welcome back to another video. This video was requested. I've got quite a lot of new followers who have ADHD, and I want to welcome and thank you for being here with me. And I had somebody post a comment on one of my videos that said, could I go into more detail about the symptoms? And I think the only way I can do this, because I'm not like a psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything, is for me just to go through the symptoms and be like, say how they've affected me in the past. And right now I'm on medication, so I can make a video and be focused, and I don't have to do loads of editing and things, which is really great. So I can't really I think what I might do is talk a little bit about if these symptoms have gone down, but other than that, I just want to talk about my own experience with these symptoms. Everybody's different. Everybody has a range of different experiences, so you can't categorise ADHD into one little box, basically is what I'm saying. So I'm just going to get right into it and talk about the symptoms. I am on attitudemag.com, which is a website that I couldn't actually go on when I first got diagnosed because they blocked it in the UK. So I think this might be an American website, I'm assuming, but I don't think it really matters. I think it's the same wherever you go. So I have inattentive type. There's 3 types: inattentive, hyperactive, compulsive type, and then combined. I'm not hyperactive. I can be compulsive. I'm definitely a very spontaneous person anyway, and I have inattentive type. And the thing I don't like about this is how they've categorised inattentive into ADHD now, because it used to just be called ADD, and now people don't understand the difference. There's a lot of ignorance around ADHD anyway, I've seen, but I know what it's like, and I've spoken up about it before. I've written a blog post and things, and people I know have seen it, and I just hope to raise a bit more awareness about it in general. And also, if you're living in the UK, I feel like I have to say this, but if you have a driving licence, you have to declare to the DVLA that you've got ADHD. It's all of a sudden come up for that, and I have I'm in one of the Facebook groups of ADHD UK. I can't remember exactly what it's called, and somebody mentioned it, and it's really important that you tell DVLA that you have ADHD. And firstly, I became very offended that they needed to know this information. But what actually is, and I'm still against them knowing, but what it comes down to is if they find out that you have ADHD after you've had a crash, or if someone's crashed into you and it's not your fault at all, for example, and you've got injuries and you want to claim, then they're going to look back through your health records, medical records, and if they see that you have ADHD and you're medicated, especially if you're medicated with a stimulant or something, you can come up with I think it's a class B drug or something, so it can come up with that you're on drugs, and then they have to go back and find out. But if the police could just ring up the DVLA and find out, it would be so much easier. But I'm not on stimulants, but I just feel like I have to say this because you can get fined, and technically your class is not properly insured, so I've got to sort mine out myself. But inattentive symptom 1. Careless mistakes. Oh, this is talking about children. I think it's talking about both, actually. So children may rush through a quiz, missing questions he knows the answers to, or skipping whole sections in his haste. An adult may fail to carefully proofread a document or email at work, drawing unwanted attention and embarrassment. If you tell yourself to slow down and pay attention, but find it mentally painful and physically uncomfortable to do so, this may be a sign of inattentive ADHD. Your brain is aching to jump to the next thing, and ultimately you just have to give in. Oh, I used to go through this a lot. I used to rush through things a lot, and I used to think it was just because I was impatient. That's what I thought it was, but it's actually an ADHD symptom. For example, I'd have an instructions manual for something, maybe putting something up for my IKEA, say, and I'll just rush through it and I'll do something wrong, because I just won't read it properly. I used to do that sort of thing all the time. So the next one, short attention span. Unfinished classwork, half-done art projects, and incomplete reading assignments, all hallmark signs of attention problems in students. Adults with inattentive ADHD despise boring work meetings 10 times more than their colleagues and need to be chewing gum, sipping coffee, or even standing during meetings in order to sustain their attention throughout. If you're consistently frustrated by your ability to make it through long documents, stay focused during meetings, and see projects through to completion, that could be a sign. So for me, this would come up in like not completing books, starting a ton of different courses online, never finish them despite like being paid, like paying for them, doing so many different projects and never finishing them, work meetings, after a few minutes often, I would be like, and also when everybody's talking at once or people are flipping like back and forth between who was talking and things, my brain couldn't keep up with it, and it was like I couldn't really say anything because it was just too distracting for me. I used to feel that these like meetings and stuff would give me kind of brain fog, and I'd just go into this. I'd feel like I just can't concentrate, and my eyes were blurring a bit almost because I just couldn't concentrate, and it's really uncomfortable. And I used to think this had something to do with anxiety and some weird stuff. It's not. It's just because I literally had a short attention span. Poor listening skills, and I find this quite hurtful because I've always considered myself a really good listener. When I'm talking in a conversation, I will really try and be empathetic and be a good listener, but sometimes my brain would wander. So what did it say? Students with inattentive ADHD typically get about half the instructions relayed to them verbally, if that. So I remember being at school and having to I was listening, but then I would always have to rely on my friend to go through and tell me what we'd learned, or things like that, or what we were meant to be doing, because I'd never be sure. Notebooks filled with more doodles and notes. And may need. Oh yes, I was definitely a big doodler. And actually, I've got something I want to show you guys. In my bag. This is my little book. When I found out that I had ADHD, I read somewhere that it was really good to write stuff down. It's a really great way to dealing with ADHD, and I just have so much stuff going on through my head. And I'm actually going to read some of this out in my next video. And I was just deciding as well whether I should be taking different things, whether I should be on medication and all this sort of thing. So if you do have ADHD, writing everything down that's going through your head is a really good way of coping with it. Adults don't do well at parties. They interrupt others' stories with their own anecdotes, never remember names, and zone out halfway through each conversation. So I'd never really interrupted people. I know I'd done this occasionally, and every time I've done it, I've been really conscious of it, and I've apologised. And I think this is one of the reasons why I was really shy, and I didn't really want to talk to people because of this as well. So I really liked one-on-one conversations as well. And zone out. I used to zone out all the time. And this is something I want to draw attention to. So if you're constantly being asked, weren't you listened to, or why am I wasting my breath, could be a sign of inattentive ADHD. And that's true. I was always in the clouds. And I don't think many people said those words to me. But yeah, people would say stuff to me again, and I wouldn't realise that they were saying to me again. And I used to just forget stuff, and it wasn't even forgetting, it was just not really paying as much attention as I would have liked before. And I'd just be what were you saying? Or even I'd be saying something and then my mind would just go to somewhere else, and I'd be could not get back to that place. So I'd actually have to ask the person, what was I just talking about? And it can be quite embarrassing, especially in a professional environment. It's not cool. No follow-through. For children and adults alike, inattentive ADHD can manifest as a million projects lying around the house in states of completion, like I've already said. If you love to plan and start projects, but get sidetracked and leave a trail of unfulfilled promises in your wake, this could be a sign of inattentive ADHD. So I'd get super excited about starting something, and I feel really passionate about doing it. and a couple of days later I'd just drop it all completely because I'd have no interest in it. And so now I've started a business. I'm not sure that I probably would have still carried on with it. I'd like to think I'd have carried on with it, and I finally found what I was looking for. So yeah, I work online. I have my own business, which is actually, I think, is really great for people with ADHD as long as they can commit. And being your own boss and not being told what to do is one of the reasons I love it, and you get to like use your creativity in a good way. Disorganization. Oh my gosh. This was a big thing, a big one that showed up for me. Lost your phone again, your keys, that report that is due tomorrow. Since we're often thinking about something else when we're putting down important things, inattentive adults are prone to the worst of ADHD's hallmark disorganizational symptoms. Our homes, cars and workspaces often look like a tornado just hit them, which can fill inattentive adults with a crippling amount of shame. So yeah, definitely a very shameful thing. I was always messy ever since being younger. I think if I'd maybe have had some kind of structure in place, maybe I could have been better, but I know my mum did all my tidying and cleaning at home. But yeah, so currently my house is like fairly, actually it's not untidy. I have a bowl sat next to me. I have I think there's a few things that need to be thrown in the bin. But really it doesn't look that bad in here, and I think I used to be a lot worse, and I think since taking the tablets I got a lot better. But it's so hard because it feels like it's out of your control. So I'd have been like doing something and I'll just put something down and completely forget about it. Then for a week I won't even realise it's there, and I know that's really hard to like understand if you don't have ADHD, but I'm assuming that most people who watch this do have ADHD. But it's so hard to say like how you've left it in a mess and not even thought I need to clean this up, because your brain's just been elsewhere. Your brain's just constantly filled with noise this whole time. And I'm hoping some symptoms like that are gonna come up that I haven't actually seen yet. But my car is currently messy on the inside, messy on the outside, but it's a lot better than it used to be. I don't like washing my car, and doing chores used to be just so, like, you know how everybody hates doing chores? If you've got ADHD, it's even more uncomfortable to do chores. It's like when you do them, your brain's just so resistant to it. And it's like the only way I could get myself to do chores was playing really loud music or doing it really fast in like hyper focus mode, which is another symptom of ADHD, or just I don't know, someone was coming around so I had to tidy up, or playing a DVD or something while I'm, playing a film or something while I'm doing it. And that's the only way I could get myself to do stuff. I'm so much better now, and I'm so grateful for it all, but it was such a struggle. You have no idea, it was such a struggle. Another one thing I want to say is that ADHD comes up in like symptoms, but if people had shown me these symptoms, I probably would have somehow clicked that I might have had ADHD. But ultimately, it's like how someone described it as the way it makes you feel. So for me, inattentive ADHD made me feel really dissatisfied with life and really like overwhelmed and frustrated all the time. And these were the feelings I was getting up, and I was never really connecting the dots, which is why it took me so long to realise that I had ADHD. I'd heard about it before, but I just honestly thought it was something to do with hyperactivity. Symptom 6, laziness or apathy. These are in speech marks. He could pay attention if he tried. She's just not dedicated. That's why she misses so many deadlines. Unfortunately, inattentive symptoms usually make us look lazy or uncaring, especially if ADHD is undiagnosed or hasn't been disclosed. Without treatment, we're prone to losing jobs and friends, or even developing a hard and bitter persona as a defense mechanism. If everyone's pinned you as lazy for your whole life, it's easy just to see that you that way too. I can relate to this a little bit. I can relate to being lazy, procrastinating a lot, and just not feeling like doing much because I just felt constantly overwhelmed. Also in my late teens, early 20s, I had a lot of health problems. that like what to do with my gut. Well, it's basically I've got like this leaky gut thing that causes a lot of other symptoms as well, like brain fog and anxiety, and ADHD causes anxiety too and depression, or it can do. It also causes things like bipolar and other mental health conditions. So symptom 7, Bermuda Triangle Syndrome. I don't know what this is. Everyone misplaces their car keys or phone from time to time. People with inattentive ADHD trade stories about finding their glasses in the freezer and the frozen peas in their purse. They tend to misplace the essential things they need for living: keys, wallets, backpack, sports equipment on a daily basis. If you have found that you need a launch pad near the door to ensure you don't forget your phone and couldn't live without the located device attached to the keyring, that could be a sign. I once went to pay for petrol. So you know those pay at the pump things? So I put my card in and I couldn't remember my PIN number. Eventually I remembered it when I'd left, like really embarrassed, and went to another petrol station because I couldn't face going back. I lost my keys all the time. I lost everything all the time. A funny story, when I was started on medication and it hadn't been in my system for that long, I actually lost my medication, which was really ironic and kind of funny. But yeah, I lose things all the time just because it's like your brain is elsewhere. Your brain isn't like, you know, you're putting something down, but your brain's somewhere else is basically what it's like. And yeah, distractibility, inattentive adults are dreamers, doodling on their notes during a meeting or studying, a fly on the wall while the spouse is asking about bills. That I don't do bills. Like I don't do bills. My partner sorts that out. My partner every month goes, "This is how much money you owe me for this month. Your share. Okay, here you go." That's all I have to do. I'm really bad at budgeting and all that stuff. So I avoid it like the plague. Often nicknamed space cadets or written off as flaky, many people misinterpret their lack of focus as a lack of interest and get frustrated by the inability to pay attention, especially when it's important that they do so. I think because I've always been shy and quiet, that people don't really, and a few people actually knew the real me, that, I think some of these don't really apply to me that much because of that and because I've always just stayed really quiet. But yeah, big doodler, definitely. Symptom 9, sorry this video is going on quite a bit, but there's quite a lot to go through. Inattentive ADHD, symptom 9, forgetfulness. How many times do you miss, this is like losing keys and stuff as well. How many times have you missed a doctor or dentist appointment in the last year? Oh my god, I missed a blood test once. Like I told my employer like the day before, I've got a blood test, and the next day, which was actually before I went on my tablets, and then the next day I just didn't go and I'd forgotten, and then later on I was like, oh my god, I was going to go to that appointment, and inadvertently stood up for friends for lunch. Joined a conference call 20 minutes late. These are common occurrences for adults with inattentive ADHD who struggle to pay bills, return friends' messages, and send out birthday cards on time. This may be perceived as rudeness or laziness, but this behaviour is rarely done on purpose. I'm going to speed up a little bit. Oh, actually, this is the end of the symptoms. It just says getting treated. Coaching. Tricks for living with inattentive ADHD. I'm going to read this out because it's pretty cool. This article is called Inattentive ADHD Explained, if anybody did want to see it, but to read it. But so set a timer to get yourself going on a boring task. I tried that, it didn't really work. Put on high energy music to rev yourself up before a long meeting, difficult chore, or anything else that tends to let your mind wander. Yeah, I used to do that all the time. And I could never listen to music quietly. I always had to play it really loud, like top volume all the time, to like drown everything else out. Hire a friend to check in on you periodically during a big project. Like at work, I was always really good at like, I don't know, getting on and working really fast and stuff, but it's because I have this thing called hyperfocus, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Change up the view. When you find yourself getting distracted, move to a different location outside or maybe even a coffee shop. Yeah, moving like locations is really important as well. So you just need to get bored with life so easily. But hyperfocus is something that I really miss actually when I had ADHD, but at the same time it's like the one good thing. I'm taking away or reducing like 100 bad things, and then I am also losing a little bit, the good thing as well, and it's so worth it. Like, so long I was just like, oh, I really miss this, and I was really focused on that. But actually, I don't feel like that at all. Like, before I had ADHD, so, diagnosed with ADHD, and I'd have like hyperfocus, so I literally, when I found out I had ADHD and the symptoms and stuff, I wrote a blog post, and it took me 6 hours to write. During this time, I had headphones in, playing songs with lots of words and stuff, and being able to still do that. Now I cannot do anything without something something's playing at the same time. I can't do it. I can listen to like meditation music or music like that, but words, lots of different beats and stuff, I just can't do it anymore. Music was one of those things that really has helped me throughout my entire life. Going through supermarkets wearing earphones, because I used to find, and I still do a little bit, but find supermarkets so overwhelming because of the bright lights, because of people talking, because of people getting in the way. And like, that's why I like to go in the evening when there's like nobody about, because it's just so much nicer for me. I used to feel so overstimulated all the time, but at the same time I had to like do things like play music when I was walking about, or I know, just like tapping my hand on my knee or my leg and just like focusing on that, try and get my focus away from everything else that was going on. I used to just go out and I just would feel so overwhelmed all the time, and I'd just get so frustrated with myself for all the stupid things that I used to do, like, losing my keys, or just like being so clumsy and things. And when I started taking the drugs, they helped within I think it was the second dose I took. So the first dose made me super sleepy of Strattera 10 milligrams, and I've got a video on how it's affected me. But the second day, people say it takes like a couple of weeks to kick in and everything. Second day, my mind felt clearer than it ever felt in my entire life. And I was like to Carl, when you're driving and stuff, or when things are going on, is your mind constantly playing like 2 different songs at once, and you're thinking about all these different things and switching between things, and it's just like, no, my mind's just like clear, and I'm just like and so when I actually took because that's how I realised that something was definitely wrong with my brain, was when I actually took the pills, and I was just like, wow, this is what it's meant to feel like. And it's almost like making me feel emotional right now, because I'd gone my whole life feeling the way I had done, realising that, always thinking there's something wrong with me. And I was just so different to everybody else. And and part of me just wanted to accept this part of myself, but the thing was, it was taking over my life entirely, that it was stopping me from becoming the better version of myself. And I don't think there's any shame in taking medication. I don't think there's any shame in not wanting to take any. I think it's completely up to you. I just thought to myself, I'm going to give it a go, and if it doesn't work, if it doesn't help, or there's too many side effects, then I'm not going to go for it. But in the end, it worked out really well for me, so I'm really blessed for that. So I found out that my mind was just so clear, and just like, now I can just stop thinking. I couldn't do that before. Just flipping between stuff. And if you go back and watch my older videos where I'm just sat down talking, you'll see there's so much editing going through. Now I don't need to edit my videos at all. I can just continuously speak, and that's really amazing to me. And anyway, so I just wanted to do a video based on what somebody requested basically, and I hope it's going to help some people out there who have inattentive ADHD, or help them realise that they have it. I'd advise, if you think you've got it, to get diagnosed, but you don't have to. There's no shame in not getting diagnosed. But if it's really affecting your life in huge ways, then it might be good for you to get diagnosed. It might be good for you to try medication, or get some other kind of relief. And I had anxiety and depression problems, like I said. I had and I still have this a little bit, like sensory issues. So being in a crowded place, I'd get so much anxiety, and I still do a little bit, but I just needed to get away from people and just be alone quite a lot. And I often thought this was just because I was an introvert, but it's not just because of that. It's a lot to do with my ADHD. So I'm going to leave it here because it's quite a long video now, and I'm going to make another video about my little notebook. So if you're interested in that, I'll be posting that after this one. So take care, everybody. I hope you're having a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video.